Trying to figure life out. Can't believe what you see in this world, it'll feed your doubt. And I've tried on my own, but we weren't meant to do it alone. So come with me, together we'll get free. I confess I'm broken, but I found someone who's making me whole. What if honesty could be the key? I confess I'm desperate, looking for a place to call home. And if honesty with me could be my key, then with truth I'll lead. And if honesty with welcome to the couch.
Well, guys, we have made it to episode 1 of Couch Confessions. Wow, it's actually crazy to be here. Welcome to the couch. That's the catchphrase. Welcome to the couch. Welcome to the couch. What have I gotten myself into? I honestly am not sure I quite know yet, but we are going to go on this journey. So buckle up, Buttercup. Hopefully together we will seek safety and find freedom in accepting and admitting our humanity as we navigate life and explore purpose. And we'll get into the nitty gritty of what that really means and what I hope to do in this space in a minute. But first, you may be asking, who am I and why do we have yet another podcast? Now, I have asked myself those very same questions, and I confess, I'm not sure that I really have arrived at the answer to either of them, but today I will try to answer them to the best of my ability for you. All right, guys, so this segment of the pod is called Not Guilty Pleasures, and I'm going to let you in on a little secret, or maybe into my dreams, but hopefully one day that this will be a space for ads and sponsors so that I can say today's Not Guilty Pleasure is brought to you by such and such and such and such, whether that be a product or a brand or a business. But until that day, I'm going to use today's Not Guilty Pleasure to make a PSA to vote. I'm not here to tell you who to vote for necessarily, but be for real. But I am here to say use your voice, and not just nationally. I mean, on the state level, I mean, on the local level, because it does impact us. And although as a believer, a person of faith, I think ultimately, the times that we're in just kind of call for some of this chaos according to the Bible. And two, really, regardless of who's in the White House, somebody else is really in charge, and his name is God. But regardless of all of those things, in reality, it still matters how we show up, and you can't, have faith without action behind that. And for me, I am going to make sure I'm already registered. I've been looking at the early voting dates that start soon here, at least in North Carolina. So please do some research. If you don't know, ask a friend. I know sometimes we live in a world where it's hard to figure out what's the truth, and news is like kind of janky because it's just opinion pieces everywhere, and they just talk about the same thing 10 million times in a row. I get your frustrations. I get it. It's hard to find the facts, but it matters, and it takes 45 minutes out of a day to sit down, go on a website or two. I mean, shoot, they send you 10,000 million texts and emails. I don't know how many things I've had to unsubscribe from, but it matters to stay informed. So please vote. And let's jump back into the episode. All right, so let me attempt to answer the first part of this question for you. Who am I? So for those of you who don't know, my name's Adria Gladney. Born in Rochester, New York, raised in Greensboro, North Carolina. I am a middle child, and middle child syndrome is a real thing. Don't let the people fool you, because hello. I'm an aunt to the best girl ever, sassy girl. She'll get you together real good, but she's also the most intelligent. Shout out to her mama, because I call them the Bad and Bougie twins. But yeah, I have an older sister and a younger brother and a little niecey poo, and I love my family. Grateful for them. What else? I'm a worshiper. I'm a child of God. Couldn't do anything without him. Not even this podcast. So that's very important. I'm a dreamer, and although life has really tried to knock me on my butt and take my dreams away, I thankful to God for letting me keep my dreams. So I am a dreamer, and I'm a pretty passionate person. My day job is an HR business partner. Oh, what a time it is. I mean, my Lord, I love people, but Jesus, I never thought, like, it's a wild time because, let's see, I'm 26 years old. I'll turn 27 next February. Woo woo. But I work primarily with people who are much older than me. And truly, it is astonishing to be around grown adults who act like 2-year-olds. And I say that in the most, or hopefully the least offensive way possible. But I mean, it's a funny career, I tell you. Yeah, wild times. And maybe we'll talk more about that in another episode. But yeah, that's my day job. So I'm going to give you guys some facts about me. Before I start, I just wanted to give a disclaimer. Like, the concept of fun facts are just so ick to me. I know, like, when you go to conferences or in a work meeting or whatever, when people do introductions, they're like, what's your name? What's your blah, blah, blah? And like, give us a fun fact. And I just feel like, what is a fun fact? Like, how do we know the fact is fun? Like, it gives me anxiety, honestly. That's maybe a little dramatic, but it does, to think about, like, okay, what's something that's going to be exciting to share? So we're not going to think about fun facts. We're just going to say just facts. Okay, so here are my just facts. Technically, I'm a recording artist. And I say technically because, I have one little EP out, but hopefully in the future, the album that is sitting in my files will, find some producers, and it'll be a thing with, a living, breathing body of work. Let's put it that way. I love food. I mean, who doesn't? Maybe somebody doesn't, but I really love food. And I like to cook and make a little creation. I think I've always liked to cook. When I was younger, that was like the thing I did. The people who know me, one of my god sister, and she used to babysit us. The funny thing that everyone always talks about is the blueberry surprise that I made. Don't know what was in it, and it sounds like it was probably very nasty. And I also used to make turkey burgers. I don't really make those anymore, but that was like the other thing that the kids would rave about when I was younger. And now I'm just like, sometimes I feel like I'm Martha Stewart when I make my dinner for myself. I mean, sometimes I'm lazy and I just want to eat because the week is much. But other times I'm like, ooh, what are we going to whip up today? Like the other week what did I make? Oh, I made crab stuffed salmon with a little cream sauce and some asparagus. Oh my God. And TikTok really has the girls thinking that they can do everything, not just food. I mean, let me tell you, I'm a homeowner now, and I call myself Barbara the Builder, because who's paying? And not even who's paying, who's trusting the people to not jack up your stuff and take your money? That's really the fear. Like, I don't mind paying. I just want to know if I pay, it's going to be right. And I think right now, I feel as though I would rather take the risk and, figure some things out by myself than pay somebody who's going to jack my stuff up. So TikTok has your girl thinking that she can do a lot of things. I painted. I'm about to figure out how to change some faucets. Like, we're about to do this thing. Segue. Wow. How did we get here? Oh, we were talking about food, right? Is that what we were talking about? Oh, TikTok and the recipes. Yes, that's what we were talking about. We love a TikTok recipe. There's a brown butter cod recipe that I found on TikTok, and my God, today I mean, and it's really easy because you just stick her in the oven and, you prep your fish, you prep your potatoes and your vegetables, whatever you want to put on the sheet pan. You stick her in the oven, you brown your butter, and then when she comes out, you just pour that butter all over her and she's ready to go. And it was divine, let me tell you. I made it twice in a row because it was just that good. And it's helpful that I live in a coastal area because you find like the best seafood. It's always so fresh. So yeah, love cooking. What else? I love to read. I discovered that like recently actually, because when I was in school and when I was younger, I did not like to read, but I realized I was just not reading the right things. And novels are really fun, like specifically Black romance novels. Tia Williams and oh my gosh, what's her name? It's gonna bother me. Matter of fact, let me just look the books right here. Kennedy Ryan. Oh, that's my girl. Okay. Me and my line sisters, we have a book club and we've been reading. Well, we read one of the Kennedy Ryan books and I read the second one about Soledad. And let me tell you, I mean, just chef's kiss. And I'm a hopeless romantic, so like those books give me all my life. They're making movies or series about them allegedly, and I can't wait. So yes, love books, love reading. Some disclaimers since we're here in this space. I use very colorful language, and not in the way that you might imagine. Some of the phrases and adjectives that I use, they get a little interesting because I'm not going to say that I'm really a normal person. So if you hear me say ako taco, that's just, it means awkward. Just go with me, okay? This is what we do. I call everything ghetto pretty much. My therapist really hates when I say that because, I think it's just a way for me to avoid whatever the real feeling is. But, it's really an interchangeable adjective. It can mean, sad. It can mean sketchy. It can mean spicy. It could just anything that is like, nope, this is ghetto. I feel like there's a lot of people with me on that. We see it on the internets. But yeah, that's a word I use a lot. So, I'm not trying to offend anyone. Hopefully that doesn't offend anyone, but this is just what it is. I am a therapy girly. I just talked about my therapist. We've been locked in for 4 years now and, ain't no switching up. And I be trying to tell her, I want to see you till I'm 65. And I don't think that means that I'm not going to grow and heal and evolve at all the things. But I just don't really imagine a world where I don't need to go talk to my girl. So, yeah. And she's a Black woman. She's very intelligent. She's a Christian. Like, I really hit the jackpot. I know that I've heard from people that they've had, different stories, sometimes horror stories, about finding therapists or like, those initial sessions. And I just never had that experience. And so I'm really grateful to her and to God and to the person who basically made me a list of therapists and said, here you go, maybe you need this, because it's been a perfect match and we're locked in, going strong. And I'm emotional. I'm a really deep feeler. We cry real tears over here. So we're gonna kiki, we're gonna cut up, we're gonna have a good time, we're gonna talk about all life's things. But if you see a tear, just don't get uncomfortable. It's okay. This is a safe space. I am tissue adverse, unless I'm a little snot running down. We just let the tears fall. I feel like as a society, or maybe not as a society, maybe that's a big statement, but I just feel like tissue, giving people tissue is like want them to stop crying or makes them feel like they need to stop crying. Like, no, just cry. It's okay, sugar. Just let the tears fall from your eyes. Let them fall down your shirt. It's going to be okay. Like Adele says, cry your heart out. It'll clean your face. It's okay. Just cry. So yeah, that's me, Adria. And then, how did we get here? Why do we have a podcast? Honestly, I could answer that question probably 1,000 different ways. But the long and short of it is this is an act of obedience. In college, like since college, basically, it was put in my, heart to have a podcast, and I had talked about it. I never really knew like what it was gonna be about necessarily. I just knew that I talk a lot and I love people and I love connecting with people and I love creating safe spaces for people to like show up authentically and be vulnerable and all the things. And so basically the top of this year, it kind of came back up like, what's this podcast thing? And I got the title for it, which is Couch Confessions. And, in my journey of faith and growing in Christ, I have realized that nothing that I do in this world is on accident, and my life does not belong to me. And subsequently, the things that I do with my life, they're for his good pleasure. And so, as much as I squirmed to try to not make this like a Christian podcast, which I'm not going to say that it is. It's just a life podcast, and I'm a Christian, so we're going to talk about Jesus things. And because you can't do life without Jesus, I can't do life without Jesus. Let me say that. So that's just what it is. But yeah, that's the long and short of it. It's an act of obedience. And I think as much as it is for other people, it is for myself, and I hope that it's healing for me. Because let me tell you, fighting for my life. I don't know. Adulting is a wild time. It really, truly is. And I just feel like the people I've talked to, my friends and like others around me, like it just feels like, we are fighting for our lives. And then one day as I was sitting down, like thinking about the pod and like, what am I actually going to say to these people? I realized like fighting for our life, yes, in the, natural sense or whatever, and like society and, our careers and blah, blah. But also fighting for my life for real, like my eternal life. I think that the battle, the tension of being in the world and not of the world, and what does that look like, and how do I live, and how do I be, and how do I follow Christ, and how do I be authentic? Like, I don't know. That is the fight. Like, I'm fighting for my life. I want to see the Savior when I close my eyes and not wake up again. I want to be looking at Jesus in heaven. I want my robe, and I want to sing. And I don't think I want to be in the soprano section. I want to be in the alto section of the choir, because all my life, everybody puts me in the soprano section, and I be wanting to sing alto and tenor. So when I get to heaven, I'm going to tell them, put me in the alto section. But I want to see him. So I'm fighting. This is a battle. As the old saints say, we're on the battlefield fighting for the Lord. Okay. And I just feel like as a part of that, I saw a quote the other day, and it said, healing out loud because I nearly died in silence. And it really resonated with me because, yes, like, why do we do it alone? Why do we isolate? Well, let me say why do I isolate and try to, fix it and figure it out, when not only has he called us to be with him, but he's called us to be in community with one another. And I think it's through truth and love that we get to the places that we need to. And so hopefully that's what this space will be. Fingers crossed, we shall see how it goes, because honestly, I really don't know what I'm doing. Okay. Like, we are just winging it. We're just, we're going with it. And obviously I've prepared and got some things together, but we're just out here. Okay. We are out here in the waters, and hopefully we don't drown. No, I'm just kidding. If y'all only knew, we almost didn't get to this little podcast, honey. It was real cute in theory. And I sat down in front of this camera to start recording, and I said, why am I nervous? Because nobody is in this house but me and Jesus. But I was nervous. And I don't know if it's just like the weight of the responsibility of potentially like having a platform, and like how you use that space and what you say. And then I think the weight of just like being a believer, and, what I share and how I share, and making sure it's truth, like all of those things. Woo, shaking in my boots, but it's gonna be okay because he's got us. So yeah, that's me, and that's kind of how we got here, and my intention for the pod and for Couch Confessions. And now I kind of want to break down like what we'll talk about, and kind of that opening statement, if you will, around, seeking safety and finding freedom, and admitting and accepting our humanity as we navigate life and explore purpose. That's kind of a mouthful, and I want to kind of dissect that a little bit, so that I think that's really the framework for like all the conversations that we'll have throughout the podcast. So I want to kind of talk about that and give you an intro to what's the jam. So the first part of that, seeking safety, it's something that is really important. And, as I've been doing the work to heal, I realized that safety is a top two, if not two, value for me. Value, what's the other word I'm looking for? I don't know. We're just going to stick with value. And it's really foundational to everything else, I realize, because when we're not safe, we're really dysregulated. And so like when I say dysregulated, I'm thinking like physiologically we're dysregulated in our body, like that fight or flight, and then just how that manifests in our behaviors and our beliefs about like others and the things around us and our decision making. And it's really hard to get back grounded sometimes when you don't feel safe. And the wild thing about it, because that it manifests for everybody in different ways based off of, I guess, your life and your traumas and all the things, but the wild thing about it is sometimes the danger is just perceived as not even real. And that happens to me so much, that I'm like, okay, take a breath. And it's taken me probably, I would say, like 3 years to really learn how to recognize when I don't feel safe and to like know what to do about it next. Shout out to, my girl, my therapist, because I wouldn't have really come to that without her. But it's really important to like know how to get back grounded. And some of the things that I do in order to, regulate and bring myself back to one, a lot of the times, like I said, the danger is not even real. So I repeat to myself, like, you're not in danger. You're not in danger. You're not in danger. Because sometimes you just have to tell yourself, like, calm down, take a breath. It's going to be all right. And that brings me to the next thing, really, breathing. It's very underrated. Sometimes at work, I just have to close my door and close my eyes and take at least 5 or 6 deep breaths, because it just gets a little sketchy and it really does work. I have a playlist. It's called You're Not in Danger, actually. And so like just different songs that bring me back to ground one, ground zero. And then it was actually my therapy homework, but I made a safe coping skills poster, binder, whatever you want to call it, because sometimes, or at least I have found that I'm contributing to myself not feeling safe. Did that make sense? I'm contributing to my own feeling of being unsafe. I don't know, hopefully that sounded well, by the way that I cope with whatever's in front of me. And sometimes I've had to look myself in the mirror. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have mirror conversations. And sometimes those mirror conversations are apologies. Like, I'll be like, sorry, sis, I apologize for not keeping you safe. And, reminding me, like, you're safe with me. Your emotions are safe with me. You can be who you be. Like, I got you. Because sometimes the way that we deal with life and disappointment and whatever, anxiety, is not well. And sometimes the way that we cope is putting ourselves in greater danger. And so that's why it was important for me specifically to develop what safe coping skills look like for me, because there's so many of them. I realized, when I went to therapy, this lady gave me a list. It was pages long, and I said, what am I going to do with this, sugar? And I was kind of annoyed, honestly, but then I realized, there's many, because you need to try different ones, and some will stick for some and not for others. And then some will stick for certain phases in your life, for certain situations, and not for others, whatever have you. So I made it's really like a vision board almost. Actually, I have it right here. Let's see if you can see this. Probably not. Is it upside down? This is my my safety inspiration board. And it has, like scriptures on there. It has like self-care reminders, like, okay, did you eat today? Did you walk? Have you drank water? Those types of things. It has like my pictures of my people, my community, the people who love me and care about me. And then, it has some of those coping skills that have helped me, asking for help, remembering to be compassionate, because I talk to myself wild, okay? Like out loud and in my head, wild. So I'm working on that, but that's on there. A little reminder, seeking his presence and staying in worship, like prayer, all those things kind of bring us back to ground one. So I said all that to say safety is really important. I think safety is really important. And that's one of the things that I hope that this space is and continues to be. Because if you're going to be real and you're going to be open and you're going to be vulnerable and you're going to, be authentic, you got to be safe first. And, because people aren't going to do that otherwise. So yeah, I think that's step one. I think that's the bridge that gets us to the next part, which is admitting and accepting our humanity. Wow, that's fun. And I think it's, the two parts, right? Admission, I think, requires self-awareness. I think it requires a level of humility to just say, like, hi, my name is Adria and I'm a human and I'm fragile and sometimes I make mistakes and I don't always get it right and sometimes I don't know what I'm doing and sometimes I am not prepared and sometimes I'm rude and sometimes I didn't tell the truth. Like, whatever it is, whatever your like humanity, the things that we struggle with or the things that we have to kind of like wear and walk with, I think that we have to find a place of admission of that. And I think that admission ultimately leads us to repentance in him. And I think recognizing that, like, Suge, I cannot do this on my own. And so I think that that's a really, a big part of this podcast. I mean, obviously the title is called Couch Confessions. Like, let's be honest, let's be real, and let's not try to cover up the things. I think we live in a world where what you see is not really what you see, and people show you what they want you to see and what they want you to know. And I guess to a certain extent, like, we all filter our lives, and like, that's fine. But at some point, like, can we take the mask off? Like, at some point, can we show the real journey? Because I don't know how we grow together and how people learn and like see, like, what are we following? If everything we follow is not even real, then like what are we? We're just creating more dysfunction. And so yeah, I think the admission is a big piece. But then I think you can't have one without the other. The acceptance is, if you get stuck at the admission of, wow, sometimes I kind of suck, and without the acceptance and the grace for that, then you're kind of in danger. And the way that I kind of sum that up is, I'm not worthy, but I'm loved. And if I get stuck at not worthy, then I'll miss that he loves me anyways. And that, he wants to use me anyways. And when I say he, I'm talking about God, if that wasn't already obvious. And so I just think that we have to have both, because if God can accept me, surely I should be able to find acceptance for myself, because he sent his son in the form of a human. So he was subjected to the pain and the trauma that we face in humanity so that he could be our kinsman redeemer. And so maybe my goal shouldn't be to see my humanity as a curse. Maybe it should be seen as an opportunity for God to come close to me and to show me the transformative power of his love. And I just think that, I got to stay there. I got to get there. For me, let me talk about Adria. I don't know about you, but it's very easy to get stuck at this. It feels like a curse. Like, I just wish I could be different. I wish I could be better. I wish I could do what I said I was going to do. I wish that I wasn't so anxious. I wish that it wasn't hard for me to show up authentically in spaces and I could just be myself and not be afraid of what people think about me and yada, yada, yada. There's so many things that you're like, but ultimately, like, you can't live there in that, and you got to transition to the other side. So that's, admitting and accepting our humanity, and hopefully that'll be laced throughout the conversations that we have, because I think we have to have those two things, that safety, so that we can admit and accept our humanity, so that we can properly see or have the proper perspective for life, so that we can know how to navigate. And honestly, the navigating life part, I do not purport to have the answers. Okay. I don't know. I mean, have you seen outside? It's really ghetto out there. I mean, from politics to culture to faith and, religion and career and family and relationships. It's ghetto outside. I don't know if you have noticed. If you haven't, please open your eyes, because it's ghetto. And I don't really know. But luckily, I serve someone who has all the answers. And I believe that all of the answers for life are found in Christ and in his word. And so, we don't have to do it alone, because one, we have him, and two, we have each other. So yeah, that's the pod. And we're going to talk about all things life. We're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about having hope. We're going to talk about dreams. We're going to talk about the culture. We're going to talk about everything. I don't want to sound like Wendy Williams with Hot Topics, but like really that's what it is. What life is so much. I mean, how do you define life? That's for you to decide, but there's so much that we can explore and talk about, and so I'm excited. Sometimes it'll just be me, and sometimes it'll be me and some friends, and we'll have some good conversation. It's very cozy over here. It's very comfortable. I'm not gonna do too much for y'all. I'm so sorry, because welcome to the couch. The couch is comfortable. The couch is a safe place. The couch is cozy. So yeah, that's the pod. That's what we're here for. And it's been a journey, man. I don't even know. I'm probably gonna say I don't know about a million more times throughout the course of this little journey that we're embarking on together. But hopefully, we'll grow more confidence as we go along. But I do think that there is a power in I don't know, and kind of accepting our fragility, or for lack of better words, or our gaps. And I'll never forget, my therapist told me something, because one of the beliefs that I am currently working to undo is that there is something inherently wrong with me. And she said to me one day, as we were like talking about all the things, she was like, well, there is something wrong with you. And I was like, excuse me. And she was like, I mean, there's something wrong with all of us. We are humans and we live in a fallen world, and that's our that's just our condition, and that's why we needed a savior, so that he can step in and make us something that we never had the power to be on our own. And when she said it that way, I was like, wow, because yeah, I mean, obviously we still want to undo that belief, but I think it takes the pressure off of, hey, I'm not ever going to be this like perfect, well, one day in heaven, but until then, I'm never going to be this perfect thing. And I'm never going to be everything that I see, but that doesn't mean that I'm not loved. And that doesn't mean that with God, I am whole and worthy and righteous and all of those things. And so I guess that's really the perfect closing thought for today's little intro episode. And thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next week. We're going to talk about having hope, because wow, I confess having hope is just hard. But yeah, that's been today's chat, and I hope to see you guys back again soon. Welcome to the couch. Are we done? Did we do it? Oh my God. Wow. Okay.